the totally reactionary offshore and brutal regime of offshore processing, but the system of onshore detention, of community detention, the entire reactionary framework of border protection. This asserts that the Australian national state should have the right to determine which people are able and are not able to live in Australia. Once one accepts this, as all the major parties do, then the objective logic and the inevitable logic of that is the establishment of means of deterrence and detention to prevent people from coming to the country. All of the world's people must have the basic democratic right to live in whatever country they choose, with full citizenship rights, with full working rights. The continued division of the world into rival national states has become the greatest barrier to humanity's social progress today. All of economic life on a global scale is totally integrated. We live in a world economy. Production takes place on a global scale. But capitalism is wedded to the system to the nation-state system, which is leading towards a war. The refugee crisis cannot be resolved without ending the ongoing carnage and destruction that is being carried out in the Middle East and North Africa by Australian imperialism, by American imperialism, by European imperialism. All of the major parties are responsible for this. The Labor Party, the Liberal Party, the Greens, the Labor Party and the Liberal Party have supported every single criminal, illegal war by US, Australian and European imperialism in the Middle East for over 25 years. The illegal invasion of Iraq in 2003, the war in Afghanistan, again supported by the Greens when it was initiated, the intervention in Libya, the regime change operation in Syria, once again supported by the Greens, and given tacit justification by the misnamed Socialist Alliance. These are the political parties that are responsible for this crisis. Now the major parties are preparing for a war that will have far more catastrophic consequences, a war that will be fought with nuclear weapons. The United States is preparing for a war against both Russia and China. All of the political parties in this election are maintaining a total conspiracy of silence over this to keep the population in the dark about it in order to prevent them from knowing. My party is standing in these elections to fight for an international anti-war movement of the working class, uniting workers from Australia with their counterparts in the Middle East, in Asia, in Europe, the United States, against the drive to war. We're opposing all attempts to whip up nationalism, to whip up anti-immigrant xenophobia and bigotry, which is used to scapegoat immigrants for the social crisis produced by capitalism, and is used to whip up an atmosphere of patriotism and jingoism to send off another generation of young people to fight and die in another war for the profits of their own ruling classes. The defense of refugees and immigrants today is indissolubly connected with the fight against imperialist war, which means the struggle against capitalism and the fight for socialism.
Thank you. Over to you.
My party is not standing in these elections primarily to win votes. We're warning that whoever wins these elections, nothing is going to be resolved. Whichever big business party comes to power, they'll rapidly jump their election promises and implement their real agenda, which, in the words of Mr. Shorten of the Labor Party, satisfying the AAA credit rating of Australian capitalism, meaning massive cuts to social spending, massive cuts to healthcare and the budget, all of these targeted against the working class. Our campaign is oriented to the growing layer of workers and young people who are looking for a political alternative to a setup dominated by the parties of big business, who are interested in a perspective of socialism. There is a growing interest in this perspective internationally. There are growing struggles by the working class in Europe, in the United States. These are emerging in Australia as well, and our perspective is to provide a political leadership and perspective to arm this with a socialist strategy. And it's necessary to understand who are our enemies and who are our friends. There was a question raised earlier about the trade unions and the Royal Commission report. There is no doubt the Royal Commission report was an utterly reactionary, had a right-wing agenda, but what it actually demonstrated is the simple fact that many workers understand from their experiences of being lied to and betrayed over decades by the unions, that these organisations have absolutely nothing to do with defending the conditions of the working class. These are labour management businesses in every country. They cooperate with the employers to destroy workers' conditions. The Labor Party and the Greens, these are parties of big business and war. Ms Ratnam was not even able to raise that the Greens opposed the Afghanistan war, of course, because they did not. They supported it, but instead raises that they called for a utterly pathetic vote in Parliament, for it to be at least voted on in Parliament. This is the so-called anti-war record of the Greens. And when Mr. Obama came to Australia in 2011, you can have a look at the famous picture now of a beaming Bob Brown seeking to shake his hand, which juxtaposes quite a lot with when Mr. Bush came and there was Mr. Brown heckling in the audience. So I really urge...
Who will you be placing second, third, and...
Oh, sorry. Our party does not advocate any preferences for any parties.
Thank you. Yep.